I'm Maurice Powell. Welcome to A Little Light Music on Boxing Day evening, Manx Radio's regular Thursday evening classical music hour. I hope you've had a wonderful Christmas festival, and perhaps today you've had an exhausting tramp over the moors and are now ready to relax to a little bit of light and entertaining music. So, where shall we start? Well, Handel. We should end the year with Handel. This is the overture to Esther, categorised by some writers as the first of Handel's oratorios. In fact, it was originally a masque, a little bit like Acis and Galatea, but it was expanded somewhat with extra choruses and slightly heavier orchestration. So it does sound a little bit like an oratorio, but he had still a long way to go before he wrote Saul and Messiah and Solomon and Hercules and all the other fabulous oratorios, or perhaps English music dramas, we should call them. However, a good way to end the year, Handel's overture to Esther. A fine overture by Handel, that to what is generally known as an oratorio, but is really a masque, Esther. Based on a biblical subject, of course, it kind of prepared Handel's audiences for the fact that one day he would stop writing Italian operas, which were all the rage, and then move on to English oratorios and so forth, of which, of course, Messiah is the best known. Mozart knew his Handel very well indeed, and Bach, because Mozart had access in Vienna to the Imperial Library, and the sort of the curator, if you like, of the Imperial Library was one Baron van Swieten, a great patron of Mozart, who was very keen on what was then old music, and in fact he asked Mozart to make arrangements for a larger orchestra, a more sort of modern symphony orchestra, of some of Handel's oratorios, including Messiah, and very fine it is too, although it's quite different, alarmingly quite different in many aspects. However, that's all by the way. Beethoven, of course, always said that for him Handel was the greatest of all the old masters, because he managed to get the greatest effects from the simplest means. And if we think about something like the opening of the Fifth Symphony, ta-ta-ta-ta, which could hardly be simpler, I think we get the point. Now, let's just relax a little now with some French music. Four delightful pieces by Massenet. This is the Scène Pittoresque. It's actually his orchestral suite number 4. Contains 4 movements, a march, an air de ballet with a wonderful cello solo, an Angelus where the Angelus bell is played by a French horn, and then a fête bohème, which is an exuberant finale. These are all quite short movements and they make very pleasant listening. I won't stop and announce any more about these pieces, but I will announce them all again at the end. So we have 4 pieces from Massenet's Scène Pittoresque, March, Air de Ballet, Angelus, and Fête Bohème. Four charming pieces there by Jules Massenet, the composer of Werther, Manon and Les Cid, of course, but also the composer of 7 orchestral suites. That was number 4, Scène Pittoresque. We heard the march, the air de ballet with the lovely cello solo with the chattering wind in the background. Very, very popular piece in Massenet's day. The Angelus bell, played with the French horns, with an evocation of sort of ecclesiastical chanting on the strings in the background, and an exuberant fête bohème to finish with. Very colourful, easy listening music from a French master. Well, let's hear something from a German master. This is Johann Strauss II, and it's his waltz sequence, Roses from the South. One of my favourite Strauss waltz sequences. It's played for us this evening by the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. Who else? Conducted by Willy Boskowski. Now, this was one of the pieces that was played in 1873 at the Vienna World Exhibition. This was a mammoth and very risky undertaking. Basically, they cleared the whole of the Prater, which is now where the famous wheel is, of course. Some 16 hectares were cleared, 200 exhibition halls were built, a huge rotunda, and many other things as well. It cost an absolute fortune. 20 million people were expected to visit, but in fact only just over 7 million turned up. And even when they reduced the price by half, the ticket price by half, it still didn't encourage people to come. There was a cholera epidemic at the time, which killed nearly 3,000 people in Vienna. That certainly didn't help. But the hotels and restaurants jacked up their prices specifically for this exhibition, and that probably did put some people off. It made a huge loss of some 19 million florins, an enormous amount of money. However, some of the music, of course, that was played there has lasted and is very well known. So here, Johann Strauss II, the waltz sequence, Roses from the South. Wonderful stuff, that. Johann Strauss II, the Waltz Sequent Roses from the South. Because we have to remember, that was about 8 minutes long. It's not just a waltz, it's a sequence of waltzes with a long, often very beautiful introduction and a whirling sort of finale. Of course, the Viennese waltz was once virtually banned throughout Europe, as being sort of unseemly, but of course it took Europe by storm eventually, and even on that sort of farrago of the egos, ghastly program called, what is it, Strictly something or other, even they recognised, the contestants, that the Viennese waltz is a severe technical challenge. I mean, it's either perfect or it isn't. Which brings us to Percy Grainger, a favourite composer of mine, as regular listeners to this programme will know, but I've never played this piece before. It's called Bell Piece, and like much of Grainger's music, it's not quite what it seems. He subtitled it A Free Ramble on John Dowland's I Needs Must Part, and he scored it for voice and wind band, and it was first performed in this version in Florida in 1953. Now, John Dowland, of course, was probably the first great setter of the English language, the first great writer of English songs. He lived through fairly turbulent times, which included the reign of Elizabeth I and, of course, the age of Shakespeare. 1562 to 1626 are his dates, for those of you that need to know such things. His songs, many of them are very melancholy and often accompanied by the lute. So this is kind of Percy Grainger's take on I Needs Must Part by John Dowland.
Now I
A most unusual piece by Percy Grainger, with a very lengthy section for a huge array of bells at the end. That was a bell piece, a free ramble on John Dowland's I Needs Must Part. Most unusual. I don't think there's a single piece of Percy Grainger, not even something as popular as Country Gardens or Molly on the Shore, which doesn't have some sort of quirky thing. And there's some very growly, clashing harmonies there, subversively in the background from time to time. I think we've got time, for just one more piece of Grainger, while I'm in a Grainger sort of mood. This is from a selection called Music Room Titbits, and it's called a walking tune. And Grainger himself said about this piece, I composed this little tune on which this piece is based as a whistling accompaniment to my tramping feet while on a 3-day walk in Western Argyllshire. In brackets, Scottish Highlands, in the summer of 1900. So here then is, as a little coda to the last piece, Percy Grainger's walking tune. Percy Granger's Walking Tune. That really brings us to the end of the programme, although I think I can just squeeze in a polka, The Carnival of Venice by Émile Tavan. Not very well known here, but a very well known composer of French light music at the end of the 19th century. A fine French polka with which to end the programme this evening. We've just got time for something to play us out with. But that was the last Little Light Music of 2024. I hope you've enjoyed my selections this year. It's been a great pleasure to select and play some of my favourite music for you. So I hope you've found a few things there to enjoy throughout the year, a few things that perhaps are a bit surprising, and a few things that you didn't know before. So it's the first programme of the new year next week. Not sure at all what's in the programme next week, but I know that some of you know that I generally put a little bit of Mozart in the first programme of every new year. So without any more ado, here's Molly on the Shore to play us out with. Have a very happy new year. Goodbye.